Welcome back everybody to another MOTOBOB video, and today Ducati announced their third of 6 new bikes for the 2024 model year in the form of this new enhanced rally version of their super successful adventurer, the DesertX. And they say it has real pedigree, with the prototype version being honed at the Erzberg Rodeo event in 2023, ridden by multiple Enduro world champion Antoine Mayo, winning the twin-cylinder category of the Iron Road Prologue. So one would imagine it's even better than the standard bike off-road then. And so in this video, we'll go through absolutely everything you need to know about it with the 13 key features. Now, the same engine as the standard DesertX is deployed here with Ducati's 937cc Testa Stretta V-twin, and it makes 110 horsepower at 9,250 RPM and 92 Nm of peak torque at 6,500. Now, you also find this engine in some of their other bikes like the Super Sport, the Monster, the Hypermotard, and the Multistrada V2, and the only big adaptation that you've got here in both the DesertX models is a tweak to the gear ratio. So generally they're shorter, and that gives it a bit more snappiness and the ability to crawl at low speeds, while they've also kept the 6th gear longer for easygoing motorway riding. There's also the Ducati quickshifter as standard on this bike as well. Now, there's also the same 21-litre fuel tank with the option to fit an 8-litre accessory pod at the rear. And this is a common feature of rally bikes, so I was perhaps expecting they might fit this as standard to this rally edition, but I guess it'd add quite a lot to the cost of the bike and also introduce some difficulties if you did want to fit luggage. But still, it's a nice option to have if you did want to fit it, and the theoretical range, according to the official consumption figures, would go from 375 kilometers or 233 miles up to a pretty impressive 517 kilometers or 321 miles. Now, the only other thing to mention in the sort of engine area here is the new forged carbon SUMP guard. They say it's super strong and robust, protecting the underside of the engine from rocks and the like, but also with this lightweight construction to keep things nice and nimble. On top of that, you could also say that it does add a little bit to the rally-specific looks of this bike. Onto the chassis, and we've got the same steel trellis frame as the base bike, but there's a completely new suspension setup to give it that extra capability off-road. The fork is still from KYB, but it's thicker, so it goes from 46mm up to 48, and that should help with strength and rigidity, as well as allowing for larger diameter internals, which should improve performance. Now, you've got compression and rebound adjustability to dial in the ride, and there's also a diamond-like coating on the sliders, which reduces friction and gives a more efficient and consistent stroke to the fork. And naturally, being a big, tall, rally-specific variant, there's even more travel to help it soak up bigger undulations, and so you now get 250mm as opposed to the 230mm of the standard bike. As for the shock, well, that's been upgraded too with a 46mm piston. You've got full adjustability, including high and low speed compression, and there's now 240mm of travel up from 220. Now, the other key measurement would be the ground clearance for this sort of riding, and again, it's up to 280mm now, so 30mm up on the 250 of the standard DesertX. Another important rally-specific upgrade is the new adjustable Öhlins steering damper, which is plain to see in the cockpit, and that's going to help with minimizing the front end sort of kicking around when traveling over extreme rocky surfaces. Now, they've also gone for a new wheel set with this bike, despite looking pretty much the same. So you've still got the same diameters of a 21-inch front and an 18 rear, but the rear is actually skinnier, down to 4 inches from 4.5, and they say this is better suited to more intense off-road riding. These wheels are also said to be lighter and stronger, with billet hubs, carbon steel spokes, and Takasago XL rims. So they should be a bit more resilient, but also shedding a bit of rotating mass could contribute to more lively handling. It's worth adding that this bike is also just 1 kilogram heavier than the standard bike, so 224 kilograms total curb, and that's despite the addition of the longer, girthier suspension and some extra bits of hardware like the steering damper and SUMP guard. So shedding a bit of weight on stuff like the wheels seems to have helped keep that figure in check. As for the tyres, well, we've got the same Pirelli Scorpion Rally STRs in the same sizes as the standard bike, but really for me, despite the blocky appearance, these are majority road bias tyres just with a little bit of off-road ability. And so it's good news that you've got the Pirelli Scorpion Rally also handbook approved for some more demanding off-road work. And then there's the Pirelli Scorpion Trail 2s, which I've got fitted to my Tiger 800 at the moment. They're pretty much entirely road and touring bias, so great if you do want to take this bike on longer road rides. The other key change here from the standard bike is that you've got tubed tyres as opposed to tubeless, And for me, that kind of makes sense. I mean, naturally, the standard DesertX is going to be doing most of its miles on road, and so a quick plug seems like the most likely way for most road riders to get themselves back on the road after a puncture. Many more serious off-road riders, however, will still prefer the tubes because you've got the option to patch them or replace them on the trail, and so that's what you get on the rally. Onto the braking, and it's the same Brembo M50 monoblock radially mounted calipers as the standard bike with the big 30mm diameter pistons on a pair of 320mm front discs. Then at the rear, you've got a two-pot Brembo on a single 265mm disc. And look, those big M50s up front are perfect for road riding, and so you might be concerned that they're somewhat overkill and perhaps too aggressive for off-road riding, but Ducati do say that they've been set up specifically with good modulation in mind to help find the right amount of grip on loose surfaces. Now, there's a rally-specific saddle that comes as standard on this bike, so it is flatter, and that allows the rider to move around more freely. It's taller, so you can easily transition between sitting and standing, and also it's got an extra grippy coating. But the downside for shorter riders is that combined with the extra length in the suspension, the seat height on this thing is now monstrously massive. The standard bike already sits at 875mm, but this one comes in at 910. I'm about 5'9" or 175 centimeters, and I reckon I'd find it pretty difficult to get this bike up off the stand. Now, there are some lower seats and suspension kits for the standard bike, so perhaps there is the option to shave a few millimeters off here if you do want that sort of higher spec, but perhaps you're not the tallest rider. Although I should point out that the suspension is different, so it might not be a direct swap. Now, another nice little ergonomic tweak is that the brake and gear pedals are now both adjustable, so you can switch easily between positions that are more suited for road or off-road use, and they're now also both made from billet, so they should be lighter and stronger, as well as contributing to a bit more of a premium look. Now, from a tech perspective, you've got pretty much the same package as the standard bike, so there are 6 riding modes of sport, touring, urban, wet, enduro, and rally, with the latter two there probably being of most interest to anyone thinking of buying one of these bikes. Now, enduro limits peak power down to 75 horses to make it a little bit easier to get on with, whereas rally is the full 110 horsepower with maximum throttle response, and they say that allows the rider to more easily pop the front wheel over obstacles. They've also disabled wheelie control in this mode to keep momentum when you're going up gravelly climbs. Traction control is set to low, and ABS is down to level 1 and can also be deactivated. Then you've also got 4 different power modes, various levels of cornering, ABS and traction control, the wheelie control that we already mentioned, and engine braking control, and you can dial in all your settings there. There's also cruise control as standard, all of which can be managed through their 5-inch TFT display, and naturally this allows for connectivity with your phone to bring you features like turn-by-turn nav. Looks-wise, it seems like they've tried to emulate that prototype a bit with the livery, and personally, I really like it. Loud and bold as a rally edition should be. But also from a practical perspective, they've used colored plastic as opposed to paint to improve scratch resistance, or at least the visibility of scratches, and they've given it graphics that are made from thick PVC, again as opposed to being painted on, and that gives you the option to more easily customize the look. Now, completing the rally aesthetic is the high front mudguard, which of course gives you more clearance for super muddy conditions, but it also does make it look a bit more like a big dirt bike. No price for this one as of yet, but I'd expect $1 or $2 grand more than the standard bike at $14,995, and bikes should be in dealers from February 2024 in the UK. As always, I'd love to know what you think of it, so do let me know down in the comments below. And do you also think that you could get on with a bike that's 910mm in the seat and over 220 kilograms? I'm kind of looking forward to trying one out just to see if I can get on with it, although I do feel like I might need a bit of a leg up to get on. Let me know what you think of it down in the comments, and if you want to see my review of what I think is one of its closest competitors, the Husqvarna Northern Expedition, then I'll put it on the screen for you now to have a quick watch, and also do hit subscribe if you've not already to see more of the latest motorcycle news like this right on YouTube. Many thanks for watching today, and we'll catch you in the next one.